Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Solution Heroes, the show where we dive deep with the leaders who are shaping the future of solution engineering. Yes, that's you, Hannah. I'm Chris Mabry, VP of Solutions at Reprise. I'm here to have real conversations with the real solution leaders who are solving the toughest challenges in our profession. Today, I'm super excited to be joined by Hannah Bloking, Senior Manager, Applied AI Acceleration Solutions Architects. That's a mouthful. Hannah is also the co-founder of 4 Under 3 with our friends Allison Macklick, who has been on many of our productions, the creator of things like the PreSales Collective's newsletter and all sorts of other pieces and parts. She's been around in our profession and has been a vocal advocate for the profession for many years. Hannah, thank you for joining me today.
I'm so excited to be here, and I love the title, Solution Heroes. So honored to be part of that.
Yes, you're now part of a coveted group of solution heroes.
Wow.
There is no cape. You may get a box of swag. Maybe I just came up with the next thing, though.
I think I need a sticker.
Yeah, a sticker at least.
Yeah.
Our goal, Hannah, I reached out to you because you're leading what I would consider like at the tip of the spear when it comes to solutions teams. I just said the title of your team, it's a mouthful, but it's like applied AI at a very large and trusted organization. I'm excited to dive into things like trends that you're noticing, things that you're leaving behind. The goal is for our guests, our audience, myself included, that we take some things away, some of the lessons learned that you've had over the past 5 years and then plus with the other works.
That sounds great. Yeah. I feel like we're at such a transformational time, just in terms of business transformation, but because pre-sales engineers are so at the tip of the sphere in general with what our customers are trying to do with some of these emerging trends. Of course, we're going to be talking about AI today. It's an incredible time for people in our profession. Very exciting.
I agree.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what are some of the trends that you're excited about? And also I want to kind of lean into trends that you're excited about, you think others are sleeping on, and where do you think the pre-sales leaders should be focusing their energy right now?
How to make every single pre-sales engineer in their team an AI thought leader. And right now, of course, AI is top of mind for our customers and our customers' customers. And I think a lot of times, and something that I'm observing is that a lot of places, their pre-sales engineers are very familiar with the AI capabilities of the products and solutions that they are selling. And of course, that's very top of mind for a lot of companies that are trying to highlight their innovations in the space. But the reality is that it's not really a core piece of the company culture's DNA in actually using AI themselves. And sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect because depending upon the solution that you're responsible for selling, you may or may not use it in your daily workflows. But I think right now, it is such a critical time for every single pre-sales leader out there to be asking themselves, how are my teams actually adopting AI for their work? Because it really helps to bridge this gap between kind of the theoretical and the theory of what AI can do for businesses and brings you really close to someone that's actually a practitioner of it.
I couldn't agree more. Using it and using it often, I do as well. Becoming a practitioner makes it so much different when you go to market with it. Like if you have AI in your tool and you're an actual practitioner, it's a very different conversation.
Well, it just helps you really understand the business challenges of implementing AI at scale, and what it can do and what it cannot do. One sort of tell for me right now in how advanced somebody that I'm speaking to is with AI is I'll ask them, like, kind of tell me about what you want to see it do, what it could be doing for your business. And if they give me an answer that sounds like magic, I know they're actually not that familiar with what AI is and what AI isn't, because there's a lot of things that if you're just using it in your daily workflows, you truly understand what the true ways that you get value out of it are.
That's so true. Man, I couldn't relate with that more because I do a lot of external calls here in my role at Reprise. And when I get on the phone with somebody who walks through an AI sort of scenario, it sounds to me like a bit of a science experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, okay, that's not how, like, we're not there yet. I like the ideas, and it is one of the first things that you think of and notice. If I'm a solution leader right now and I'm thinking, okay, here's somebody who's leading a AI focused team and is hardcore focused on making the pre-sales individuals AI practitioners and experts. What's the journey in getting there and integrating it? Because often what we're doing is we're kind of suggesting to our team we should use AI all the time. So Hannah, tell me a little bit about your team's actual journey and integrating it into your workflows. So give me the real story of how you made that work.
Well, the first step in identifying how to integrate it into a team's workflow is you need to, just like we ask our customers to do, we ask them to rethink how they're going to envision their businesses that aren't like for more with new technologies. You have to identify what your team workflows are and understand where there's actual value. We think a lot at Amazon about where do we eliminate the undifferentiated heavy lifting for our customers, and that's a huge value proposition of AWS and the cloud in general. But we think about it the same way. Where can I eliminate the undifferentiated heavy lifting, the repetitive tasks that people on my team are these highly skilled, highly valued people that I want to be working with customers and helping them solve their biggest challenges. So, step one is really understanding what your own processes are, and that comes down to like what we were just talking about it's not magic. You have to do the work and do some of the unsexy things of understanding what your team's workflows are. Then you identify where in the process you're going to set an expectation that it gets leveraged. And then from there, you have to do the work. You have to be a business owner as a pre-sales leader to understand what is going to be the ROI of this investment, and you measure it. I think that's one key thing to work backwards from, like any tools or initiatives that you're going to implement in your own team, even if you have a team of 4 or you have a team of 400, right? Like you need to be able to have a way to measure what the results are. So then you as a pre-sales leader can go back and say that you're realizing this type of gain. And that's a very interesting conversation that you can have with your sales counterparts, that you can have with your leadership teams yourself, to talk about how you're innovating in ways and really adopting AI in the ways that the customers are really asking us to help them with. They're asking us, how can they be more efficient? How can they get better outcomes by using the AI capabilities that you're generally presenting to them, that you're pitching to them, right? So
yeah. I'm thinking in order to do that, you've got to find the right skill set in your solution engineers or solution architects. Not every solution architect, I think, is, we're like a Swiss Army knife. We all have different skill sets. We all have different things that we focus on. Is AI changing how you hire? Are you looking for different skills now? Is it business as usual from the talent front?
I think the way that it's really changed how I think about, like one of the key leadership principles at Amazon, which you could find like on our website, is learn and be curious. I mean, how top of mind AI is in general, my expectation is that if somebody's coming to work on a team, work in an innovative culture and technology, that they are at least self-exploring, even if it's not a current requirement of their jobs, but self-exploring and understanding how they benefit from AI tools. So, certainly while, Swiss Army knife and all of us pre-sales professionals, are technical, but we're not necessarily engineers per se. Some of us are, but not everybody certainly is. Like, yes, like I would love to hear stories about how people are leveraging coding assistants to be able to, get further along in a prototype or a demo in ways that they had to engage in more engineering or a more traditionally technical resource before, because those tools are here. They're available and they're amazing, and people should absolutely be exploring them. It's 100% my expectation that candidates have explored those things on their own. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. So it is. So when somebody shows up and they've got a side project or they've explored the tool and they have a way to prove to you, because my follow-up to that is two-parter. One is, how do you test for curiosity, which I'm a super fan of, by the way. I think curiosity it's one of the number one traits for a solution engineer, period.
Yeah.
How do you pull that out of an interview process?
The best way to identify what somebody is capable of is learning
Hmm.
about their previous experience and how they approached problems. So, that is why I'm a big fan of kind of how we conduct interviews at Amazon, which is all tell me about a time when. And when we're listening for what the candidate was going through, we listen for the STAR format. So it's what situation were they faced with, what task was at hand, what action did they specifically take, and what was the result. So, tell me about a time when, if you can get through all those layers of how you approached the problem, what you identified, the actions you took, what you traded off, that tells me a lot about how you would approach problems at Amazon.
Wow, that's cool. Um, I like the approach that's very like prescriptive yet open-ended and lets you explore things together.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's good. And, and it also gives you an opportunity to really learn about people's experience.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I find that whenever I'm doing interviews, I am actually hyper curious about people's experiences outside of work, hobbies, how they approach things. If it's somebody who says, "Hey, I solve all kinds of problems outside of work, and I have these interesting hobbies," I'm kind of more drawn towards that because I can see people diving into all aspects of life, which I think is kind of key to be a good, curious solution engineer too. So
Yeah.
I love it when people share their hobbies with me and talk about how maybe they start a business on the side or they do specific things like outdoor activities and stuff.
Yeah. I remember, uh, I've been in pre-sales and sales engineering, solution architecture almost my entire career. But before pre-sales, I was in professional services. And I remember when I was interviewing for my first sales engineering job, and my manager at the time, my manager at the time, was asking me a question. He was telling me about what sales engineering was. He was like, there's like, it's something that I look for when I'm talking to candidates. And it's like not enough to just like turn off the light switch and like know that the light is off. It's like, why does the light turn off? And like, that's always really resonated with me because to me, that is the difference between a good engineer and an amazing sales engineer. It's not enough to just like accept the answer for what it is. You want to go deeper and deeper and you want to challenge things. And that's the DNA of a great sales engineer.
Yeah, that's a great comparison. So thank you. I'm going to save that one for myself.
Yeah, I wish I could give credit. If Kit Baldwin happens to be listening, that stuck with me for many, many
You know, we've all stolen the best stuff. Every line I have is stolen from
years.
somebody who's smart.
Absolutely. I'm sure same, except for many years later, maybe you've rewritten it so many times in your mind you forget that. But
I had somebody who look, I'm stealing a line about lines, which he said, "You've got to give me credit the first time. The second time, it's mine."
yes, exactly.
And my next favorite one is if I worked at a company, we did it as a team. If I'm talking internally, but if I'm talking externally, I did everything,
Yeah.
which is a funny way to represent work.
Yep.
Right now, and I'm speaking more towards like leading teams. It's it's an interesting time to be leading solution teams right now. A lot of us are tackling problems and wrestling with problems without large budgets to throw at them, and a lot of us are trying to get as creative as possible. Speaking of creativity, it applies to this level too. What's the most interesting problem you're facing today, and how are you tackling the challenge with what you can share with me?
Well, I am specifically tasked with I'd say a novel problem because I am tasked with a unique opportunity to build a brand new team from the ground up, which is a very exciting thing to be able to do. It's actually my third team that I've built at AWS.
Wow.
And it's at a time where we're all rethinking how we want to transform our businesses, transform our processes, because we have these amazing AI capabilities that we didn't have a couple of years ago. And I am thinking about, if I'm building this new team from the ground up, our mission is to essentially be able to accelerate our go-to-market function across both of our sales solution architects or sales engineering roles and our sales roles. So like I'm now having to go and look at the process end to end, which we think about a lot anyway as a pre-sales or solution architects, because we are so heavily a part of the entire go-to-market process. But I'm looking at how do we actually leverage AI, not in just like a little functional team, but challenge traditional roles, honestly, because these new tools that we have available to us, this new technology that we have available to us, kind of like obfuscates roles altogether. And so,
Wow, yeah.
We have this whole mentality right now about, looking at AI agents almost as teammates. So if I have an AI agent teammate and I'm a solution architect, how do I work with an AI agent teammate to do something when I don't have my seller, and vice versa? So like, how do we actually incorporate these new teammates into our business is a problem, but it's really an exciting opportunity to think about how we do that.
That sounds like a really big problem to tackle. I am
Yeah.
super curious about your
Yeah.
yeah, it's big and it's chunky and it's kind of the fun stuff. It's fun to whiteboard and work through that problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about your methodology because when if I'm hearing this, I'm thinking, wow, that's a lot. So walk me through your approach and start at the very beginning, like start with something small.
Well, I would say like I'm gonna take it actually a step back, because it's the same conversation I get asked by our customers every single day, because they're so fascinated. Everybody's fascinated by Amazon because we're this enormous, amazing, innovative machine. And it's like, how are you doing things? And we're very AI first. Like we were first to say everybody should be incorporating AI into their daily workflows. Like it's an expectation. Employees are using it. And we have these amazing tools that AWS is bringing to us that we get to actually leverage as part of our job. So we're very lucky in that way. But I would say like the first major bucket of things that I have to look at, and where I've seen a lot of challenges in getting started with these AI projects, is like typically people start too broad in what they're trying to accomplish. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like it's not magic. Like think about agents as like a very highly capable intern. Lots of like general knowledge, but doesn't have context and needs to be instructed how to do pretty much everything. So if you yourself are biting off a problem that's too big for you to tackle, you can't possibly train that agent, right? So first thing is to like think about like de-scoping probably what you think you're going to accomplish. Like what is the actual problem that you're going to solve? The second piece is, particularly, I would say this is maybe more of like an enterprise thing that we think about. And obviously we're very security conscious at AWS, not even conscious. It's just like, it's their number one problem to solve, right? But I would say like, when you're working with legal and security teams, which if you're driving an enterprise-wide implementation of anything, but especially generative AI, like this is going to be like new. This is going to be new to them too, because this is new for everybody. And, when you're working with legal and security teams, their job is risk mitigation and your job is a change agent. So you're going to have to be prepared to negotiate with those teams and to challenge things, right? So that was a learning, right? And just be engaging legal and security very early in anything that you're doing is probably like another piece of advice that I learned. Prior to coming back and doing this sales engineering role, my ownership was our actual enterprise-wide implementation at Amazon of our internal AI tools. So like everybody at Amazon using AI tools, I rolled that out. So like I'm very, very familiar with that process and that conversation. I would say the third piece is like, this is a piece that nobody wants to hear, but it's like, if you think that AI is going to solve your data problem on its own, no. So like AI agents, like I mentioned earlier, they need to be given the context, but they're only as good as like the context is only as good as your data. And a lot of times data needs to be curated. There's been a lack of governance over things. So you need to look at what data sources are going to be critical for your agents and your AI initiatives to use and get those into good order. And then the fourth is what I talked about earlier, which is you need to make sure that you're setting goals and working backwards from those goals so that your team members are just aware of what the expectation is and that they're going to be measured against it. So I think those are probably like the four big buckets that I talk about quite a bit with our external customers as well when they're thinking about AI initiatives.
approaching your customers and being essentially the change agent against the risk management sounds like it's like a little bit of a butting heads, or like two different worlds colliding. How do you get them on your side?
Well, I think the biggest thing is getting them involved very early, like, because, and that's something that I've learned in general, being at Amazon and being such a massive organization where you have so much autonomy as an individual business owner, which I love about being here. But also there is like dependencies on other teams and other like mechanisms that are in place to protect Amazon. And so like the last thing that anybody wants is that you've worked really hard on a project and you've gotten all this alignment and people excited about it, and then legal's kind of like in the last phase and they're like, you can't do this, or like, that's not going to be approved, or it's going to take an additional 12 months to get that approved. So like the number one thing you can do is early alignment. Like they are the first stakeholder you should be engaging when you're going to embark on your journey, because you don't want any surprises on either side later on. And their role, and by the way, like this was not to at all diminish their role. Like their role is extremely critical in these things, but you have to get them early so they have also time to also educate you about compliance and things that you may not be aware of, because global rollouts have their own things that you maybe don't know about if you've never done a global rollout before, for example, and you have to be prepared to factor that into your commitments as well. So, yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. That's key. I mean, and scaling this is tough too, right? I mean, I actually default to thinking of scale and process, and I've been learning in the scrappy startup world to back away from that a lot of the time and try to just focus on execution. I can't help but think that scaling the brilliance of this team that you're building is going to be super important to the mission at Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
The mission your go-to-market mission, essentially.
Yeah.
What are your plans on scaling this excellence across the org?
Oh, that might be a question that might be hard to answer right now. Yeah.
Well, let's take it very high level.
Okay.
Your team has and will have a level of excellence and brilliance, and I think this is true for any solution engineering department and role, which is like whether it's boots on the ground customer information, product market fit information, you have insight that other people need and want to know.
Well, I think that's totally.
How do you spread that around?
I think that's totally right. I mean, I would say right now, one of the things that's hard is there's so much noise, right? Like there's so many and experimentation is great. We want people to experiment, and certainly Amazon by nature, builder culture. So people, new tools come out that are available to us. We're going to be in them. We're going to be experimenting, building, trying to learn, understand, and create things for both that work for our customers, that work for ourselves. But people are attracted to things that work really well. And people are attracted to things that other people get excited about. So, when you think about what we're doing in our team, when we're thinking about how do we accelerate our own go-to-market processes with generative AI, we're really solving an enterprise problem that applies everywhere, which is how do we understand what our own processes are enough to be able to create agents that mirror them? How do we organize our data in a way that allows us to benefit from what agents can do, and amplifying and leveraging those things? So because my team is looking at these, they sound very basic, but in an enterprise, it's a very challenging problem to think about. So that is the problem that I mentioned I talk to our customers about the things that I'm sharing right now. We're able to share our learning, solving our own enterprise problems, leveraging our own tooling, which is very exciting to, customers who are coming and trying to understand what tools they want to adopt to be able to achieve business outcomes. So I would say that's what I would say. Like, we have a very huge opportunity to be at the forefront of these conversations with our customers because we're actually doing it. And I think that goes back to my point earlier, where every pre-sales engineer needs to be thinking about how their own teams are not just thought leaders and understand their own tech that they're selling, but are actual AI practitioners themselves. That's very important to us.
Yeah. That is certainly something that's going to set you apart. I think a lot of us want our teams to be there. We want our teams to be using our product as much as possible, to be practitioners. But where I like you've taken this is you've taken it a step further by introducing the idea of being that AI expert and practitioner as well,
Mm-hmm.
like even outside of your tools. And I think it's almost like, knowing the entire ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
not just your tool that you're selling.
Well, and it makes you understand, back to the light switch thing. It's like you understand why things aren't working the way, because you use them every day, and like you're able to really contextualize the real challenges that people are running into when maybe they've done a pilot of some sort of AI solution in their business, but they can't move it to production. You truly understand why that's happening, and you can help talk through ways to rethink how they need to architect their solutions.
I'm really intrigued, but I'm also just very excited and inspired to think of a solution team like this.
Yeah, I know.
And
I'm
if you're
very
listening,
lucky that I get to do this.
and if you're listening and you think,
yeah.
we have, maybe we're not Amazon. Let's just put ourselves in the shoes of somebody who's maybe they have some technical debt. They're not Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
The team is really not used to operating this way. How do we get the team, or even if you're an IC, how do you get yourself to a point where you're leading in this fashion and not just taking orders or doing demos? Like, do you create incentive for side projects? Do you create time for people to go and build? Because if they're on back-to-back demos, you don't have time to go out and experiment and build things.
Yes and yes. And, I think I'm not speaking specifically to AWS or Amazon at all, because I think we do a wonderful job actually making it expectations that our solution architects are investing in their own learning, investing in things that help scale themselves beyond being in a demo. Like, how do we get somebody to demo as well as our best solution architect who can demo, those types of things. Like, those are very important to us, and you need to give people time to do that. So yes, that all comes down to, I think, two things. And I would say this is, I've been amazed at what I've learned from working at Amazon for this many years, but like making the roles guidelines very, very clear. Like, what is a solution architect? And what is that at your specific company? What are the expectations, and how is the role actually split up into functional dimensions? Not just demos, but there's got to be other functional dimensions around like what a solution architect actually does and how they're going to be measured. And then yeah, like, I think when we think about that, when you think about goal setting, there's got to be something beyond just a revenue goal. And whether that's like a number of contributions, like if you bucket it under thought leadership, because thought leadership can be leveraged up top of funnel, it can be leveraged further down the funnel, depending upon what the actual artifact is. But it's so incredibly critical that you set the expectation and the culture of what a sales engineer or solution architect is at your own company. And as a leader, that's your job number one, in my opinion. And I think we're failing our teams if we're not doing that.
So job number one as a leader is, talk the talk, walk the walk, right? Set the expectations, but evangelize when people are doing it well, but actually do it yourself.
Well, do it yourself, but also like tell people what a solution engineer is. Like, people, otherwise they're going to put solution engineers into a bucket of like, well, I need someone to do this demo. So that's what a solution engineer does. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the other thing. Like, I think that I've learned that I've been repeating myself for 10 years, and that's honestly helped make me successful. Like, you get bored of hearing it, but people who haven't, been in companies maybe where sales engineers were strategic parts of the sales team. They were looked at as maybe more demo monkeys, if you will. That's like the
Yeah,
that I hate.
yeah.
But yeah, like, I think it's up to you as a leader to dictate what a solution engineer is and how they get,
I love that.
Yeah. So,
Well, so many of our roles are not like we live in the gray area. It's one of our superpowers as a solution engineering.
That's right.
Right.
And that's fun. But as a leader, it's your job to help ensure that you're protecting people in that gray area. Right. Because there's a lot of gray areas, a lot of room for people to take advantage. Right. So, yeah. Yep.
That's like the scope creep,
Scope creep, but also just thinking very short term. And that's another thing I love about working by Amazon. I think very long term results. So, I think that makes trade-offs a little easier.
Yeah, Hannah, that's super inspiring. I want to get into like we're gonna kind of get down into learning about you a little bit more. It's a
Oh,
bit of a lightning round.
okay.
Sort of top questions, quick hits. And then we'll land this plane and we'll learn about how to get a hold of you. I also want you to plug a few things you're working on too, because I know that you have passion projects on the outside.
Oh yeah,
Does that
that'd be
sound
great.
fair?
I would love to plug those in. Absolutely.
Okay. So, so my first question is, what is the biggest time waster you see in most pre-sales orgs?
Lack of focus on discovery.
All right. Oh man, it's hard not to dig into that with you. The next question, what's the worst SE career advice someone has ever given you?
Ooh, the worst advice anybody has ever given me. You're the smartest person in the room.
I like that. What's the best SE career advice someone has ever given you?
You're the smartest person in the room.
Tell us a little bit about what you do. I mentioned in the very beginning that you've got a 4 under 3. What is this?
4 under 3 is something that is very funny because it's the most human possible thing that anybody can really grapple with, and it's actually come at such an intersection of everything that I think about in my work life with AI. But 4 under 3 is a company that Alison McAuliffe, who probably many of the listeners know because she also is a very passionate supporter of the PreSales network and, pretty much knows everybody. And she and I worked together at a company called Sprinkler, like 2015, something like that. And she and I both have been in this pre-sales role now for going on 20 years, which is forever. And because of that, we've been on this journey where a lot of our careers have been, in male-dominated teams, or maybe we've been the youngest people in our teams, maybe not anymore, but certainly for a long time, youngest people in our teams. And sometimes maybe we had different backgrounds than people in our teams, because maybe the traditional sales engineer for 20 years ago maybe was an engineer, like a true engineer back in the day. And we know that pre-sales has very much shifted to a lot of business background folks that are technical but aren't necessarily engineers. So anyway, all that's to say is throughout our careers, we very much struggled with feeling like something that we couldn't really identify the word for. And over time, we identified that the feeling we were thinking of was imposter syndrome, which is really just this constant feeling of not feeling good enough, or like you haven't truly earned your place in where you were. So every new job that we got, every promotion that we got, we were constantly thinking somebody was going to find us out and that we didn't actually deserve what we had gotten. So long story short, imposter syndrome was a term that kind of popped up about 10 years ago. And we identified that's what it was, but it wasn't being explored very much. So we decided to explore it. And not only that, we decided to actually co-found a whole company and an offering around how to help others combat imposter syndrome. And it's been something that we've been doing for a few years now, and we absolutely love it. And particularly in this new world where we're all talking about AI, we all want to talk about how we're going to use AI to transform how we're doing work. Helping people fight this idea of imposter syndrome. It's not just comparing themselves to people now, it's like comparing themselves to AI. So it's a more important thing than ever, and a more conversation than ever that we're helping people have. So yeah, very exciting thing that we're doing.
That's really exciting. Do you do these workshops in person, virtual? Is that the
All
format?
of the above. Yeah, we're very fortunate to work with companies of all sizes and workshops of all sizes. We've done workshops, I'd say, with 20 people all the way up to 4,000 people. So it's been, a really fun journey. And we also have a podcast where we interview people about their experiences with imposter syndrome. And it's just a conversation that we realize so many people want to have, and they don't get the opportunity to have it. So we're here to have that conversation with people.
Well, I love it. I think it's very relevant in solution engineering,
Definitely.
because we wear so many hats. Sometimes we have to put a hat on that's not the best fit, and we have to get through it, right?
Yeah.
And it's part of our job, you know, and I think this conversation has been incredible. I'm energized.
Thank you.
I
Me
feel
too.
that I feel like I want a few things from you, like things like job descriptions and other things, but I'll leave that for a later time.
Yep.
Nailing that down. I mean, I think some of the key highlights for me are just build like hyper clarity, enforce a culture by leading it yourself, into a very forward thinking builder mentality. I love that.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, if people want to connect with you or follow your work, what's the best place to do it?
Absolutely follow me on LinkedIn. And also, if you want to check out a little bit more about 4 Under 3, you can find us either on LinkedIn or 4under3.io.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For everybody listening, those are my takeaways. I would love to hear yours. People reach out to me often, and they'll send me a DM on LinkedIn and say, hey, Chris, I listened to this episode. I loved XYZ. You don't know how gratifying that is. Thank you so much if you're doing that. And if you do listen, what I recommend is go ahead and get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Let that imposter syndrome slide away. Put a post up on LinkedIn saying, I listened to Hannah and Chris talk. This is a thing that resonated with me. Start to walk the walk. And I think it'll feel very empowering, maybe more so than you think. But Hannah, your thinking is exactly the kind of strategic thinking that's elevating our profession. So to the Solution Heroes community, thank you so much for tuning in. Please reach out to us if this sparked something in you. Until next time, keep solving, keep growing, connecting with the humans in your network, and take care.
Thank you so much, Chris. It was great chatting with you.
You too, Hannah. Bye-bye.